Europe opened on Monday, it was back in financial torment, with tiny Cyprus in the eye of the storm. A €10 billion bailout's been promised, but that's not what's triggered panic. Banks on the island are now closed until Thursday. On news, the president's agreed to raise an extra $7 billion, with, most notably, an unprecedented tax on all bank deposits. Stay with us, Natalie, because I just want to put a question here to Andreas, Evagora, your family back home in Cyprus. What do you think their intentions will be come Thursday?
Well, Cyprus is a country of immigrants. There's not one person in Cyprus who doesn't have family abroad. And I'm convinced a vast majority of people, as soon as the banks open, I've spoken to people in Cyprus and in London, they're going to take this. They're going to take the hit. But as soon as they can, they'll get their money out of Cyprus, as anyone would do. That would seem like the prudent thing to do. It's a small country, but as I say, it's a nation where there's a lot of contacts internationally, and they will move their money out of Cyprus as soon as they possibly can. I agree with your correspondent. There's a lot of anger. I think people knew something quite bad was happening. A tipping point would come, but not quite to this extent. People are losing money that they thought was safe.
Natalie said, why didn't they just tax big depositors more and small depositors less?
Well, can we stop using the word tax? This gives tax a bad name. It's not a tax. It's not a levy. It's a theft. People are having their money stolen. There's many ways, and I'll leave the economic theory to your esteemed guests. And a comparison is with Microsoft. If Microsoft committed fraud or incompetence on a massive scale, would people who use Microsoft be taxed? Well, of course not. You tax the company, you punish the company, you don't punish its customers. So there are many different ways to raise this money. And perception is very important here. I mean, people are quite cynical in Cyprus. There's been a political elite that's been mistrusted for a long, long time. But as I said earlier, no one quite thought it would go this far. And there's a lot of anger now. To be up on Cyprus, it's a small country, but let me tell you what people in Cyprus are saying. The head of the International Monetary Fund, Christine Lagarde, how much tax does she pay? Zero. Now, people might say, well, it's different. It's a perception. She worked for an international law company for much of her career that specializes in tax avoidance for multinationals. So these are perhaps the reasons that the governments find that their coffers are empty. Now,
it's a good thing we're going in this direction. It will allow us to approve a rescue deal for Cyprus.
She'll be eating her words soon?
I think so. Going back to what Mr. Freeman said, I think he's absolutely right in terms of what this will mean in confidence, because the President Andreas came in on the platform that he would not do exactly this, that he would protect ordinary people's money that they have in their banks, their deposits. And within a few weeks, he's gone back on his promise. There's a lot of cynicism already in Cyprus, but this really takes it to a level that people don't believe really anyone now. The politicians, whether they're in Cyprus or abroad, just have no credibility left.
All right.
Going back to the IMF again, it was only 4 or 5 years ago, Cyprus was the poster child at the IMF. There was a report put out just before the financial crisis that the IMF didn't even see coming, saying that the Cypriot economy was doing superbly. There was going to be full employment, and it was a model for small countries. So again, the IMF can't turn around a few years later and say, well, why have you been pursuing these policies? People seem to have a very, very short sense of history in this situation. So